Hello, friend. How are you today? So we are going to discuss the Splenic Center. This inner authority is ancient. It's one of the oldest centers in human design. And because of that, it really runs deep in us. So, again, I just want to reiterate what the inner authority does. So the inner authority is a way for you to listen to your own consciousness field. Yes, I know we're a part of the one, but we came here to differentiate and individualize in the expansion of the one. You know, when there's just same, there's no expansion. So there has to be this differentiation so that we can expand. And we see that. We see that, you know, there's 8 billion, probably, people on the planet. And we're all completely different. And that individuation is really why we came here. We came here to have our own individuated experience. And we agreed to jump into our particular meat suit and use that meat suit, rent it for our experience here on Earth. So inner authority brings the power of your decisions back into your consciousness field. It's not about making decisions from the chaos and distraction of the not-self. It's not about following that chaotic mind. It's about trusting your meat suit and trusting the guidance that comes from within. So inner authority empowers you to live your own individualized life. It's not about conformity. It is about individuation, differentiation. Inner authority elevates your self-actualization to a place of pure awareness. Because what happens is when you relieve the mind from the exhaustive task of decision making, the mind is then able to see the world through new eyes, through new perspective. One that isn't distorted, chaotic, gummy, messed up. And the awareness of then actually what you're built to actually see presents itself to you. It's always been there. Always been there. That the chaos and distraction of the mind has got in your way. So the inner authority assesses what is correct for you. Like, how should you be, you know, really expending your energy? You know, what invitations are right for you? You know, what kind of recognition is right for you? What kind of initiation is correct for you? What kind of action is right for you? And that's what the inner authority does. So that, because the mind is going to tell you all kinds of stories on every, every scenario possible. And then you're freaking exhausted and overwhelmed. So grab a bag of chips and jump on the couch and numb out and watch TV. The inner authority sets up the movie so you can watch it. This is kind of a, you know, a term that's, or this sentence, I guess, it's, the movie's already set up. Everything's already there. But trusting the inner authority clears up, it's like, you know, having a completely dirty windshield. And then you go through the car wash, or you take the bugs off of the outside of the window, and it's like, whoa. Look at how clear and crisp that view is. That's what the inner authority does. Inner authority is the composer of the instrument you came here to play through. Your definition is your instrument. Your definition is the student. The openness is really the wisdom. It's the learning. It's the experience that you're having. And you're having it by using your instrument, your physical meat suit. And then you get to play that instrument and absolutely become a beautiful, as the next line would say, tuning into your outer authority. The inner authority clears the airwaves and tunes you into your outer authority. So just like a radio, if you're off by a point of frequency, hertz, it's very distorted, sounds noisy. But if you're tuned right in, it becomes clear and crisp communication. And that clear and crisp communication is speaking to the people on your particular fractal. I'm not here to teach human design to 8 billion people. That's why, the International Human Design School is here. That's why the BG5 Institute is here. And that's where I learned, because it is the authentic, genuine information of Ra, who was the creator. And that's the information that spoke to me. And I can hear it clearly and crisply when he teaches it, and when the teachers at the schools teach it to me. So the outer authority becomes, this bag of wisdom that you get to share from response, through invitation, through initiation, through action. It's the wisdom you get to share. And really, that's why you came here, to experience and share. Experience and share. Because as we mutate, as we evolve, as we move through and elevate ourselves, the universe is like so excited to be on this leading edge of expansion with us. It's excited. So the splenic center. So if in your chart, the emotional intelligence is white, the sacral center is white, and the splenic center is colored in, and it's going to be colored in gold, you have splenic authority. It's the next one on the hierarchical list. The spleen is very interesting. Like I had said when I opened up, it is the oldest center in design. The ancestry runs thick and deep inside of this center. The cells are, really carrying a memory with them. And the spleen packs a lot of fear. And we're going to chat about that in the next slide. But really what the spleen does is it's an instinctive knowing in the now. And when I talk to a few projectors that have this as their authority, I've never had any feedback from manifestors that have this as their authority, except for Ra. So I'll share one of his stories with you. But from some of the feedback, and this is just their experience, this doesn't have to be yours. You just get to play with this and feel it in your own body. The instinctive knowing will let you know in that moment whether the invitation or the action is correct. Because it's either going to be a projector or an advisor that's going to have this, or it's going to be a manifestor or an innovator that's going to have this as their inner authority. And some of the feedback is they usually don't get a no, but they know when it's a yes. So you get to play with it, okay? I'm not going to tell you either way. But the center's actually, it's an awareness theme, okay? It's an awareness center. That the theme is awareness. This center is about intuition, instinct, and survival. The whole point of this center is to keep the physical body safe, to keep the physical body healthy. There's a sense of smell in this center, and it is constantly giving a reading moment by moment by moment by moment, okay? It's constantly in the now, and the indication that's coming out of the center is, am I healthy or not right now? Am I healthy or not right now? Am I healthy or not right now? The indication that comes out of this splenic center is very subtle. So, that beautiful little intuitive voice that that can be heard at sometimes? All of a sudden you're just really relaxed and you've been praying or having conversations with the universe and asking the universe questions and going about your busy lives, and you're not getting the answers, and you're going like, why am I not getting the answers? What's going on, right? I'm not good at this, blah, 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 beating yourself up. But in that moment of meditation, quiet time, slowly, being out in nature, going for a walk, whatever that is, all of a sudden you hear this little voice, and it's just very subtle, and it'll just provide an answer. That's the intuition. That's the spleen. That's how quiet it is, okay? And we all have intuition. I'm not saying that just because you don't have this, or if you don't have it defined in your bodygraph, that you don't have intuition. That's not what I'm saying. That kind of works a little differently, and that's for another conversation. However, what I'm trying to get at is that the spleen is very, very quiet, very subtle, and it can be very easily bullied by the not self, because the not self is noisy as hell. Turn on your news feed for 1 minute. The not self's noisy. Turn on the news for 1 moment. The not self is very noisy. It's jumping up and down. It's screaming. It's kicking its feet. It's being very nasty and rude and mean. And that's not the agenda of the spleen. The spleen's aware. Spleen is aware, and it is giving you data moment by moment as to the health and wellness of your physical body. So if unable to, if you're unable to meditate, unable to take quiet time, this is going to be a challenge. Because the spleen is quiet, it's subtle, it's not making a whole bunch of noise. So I encourage you to experiment with this and play with it. Maybe your spleen gives you the yes and gives you the no. I don't know what it's going to do. And I'm not going to tell you either way. But it is very quiet and very subtle. And the one thing that's really crucial to understand with the spleen is all about, is your body strong enough for the invitation, and is your body strong and healthy enough to take the action? And maybe you get invited to something and it is 4 weeks away. And when the invitation presents itself, the spleen is like, yes. And, you hear that subtle, yes, we can do this. And I'm not going to say it's going to say yes in your head. You need to play with how this subtle, instinctive, intuitive language flows through you if this is your inner authority. But it might be saying, yes in that moment. And then, as the event is coming closer, all of a sudden, you're not taking, maybe you got too busy and you weren't taking care of your body. And all of a sudden, you get the flu. Well, all of a sudden, the spleen is saying, no, we're not going to that event because the body's not strong enough. The body needs to rebuild its immune system in order for you to be recognized correctly. So I'm not saying just because the spleen says yes right now, that's not the end all be all of it all. Just because of the fact that it's all about the healthier body. Without being healthy, the recognition isn't going to be correct and the action isn't going to be correct. So when the spleen says yes, it's saying right here in this moment, I am healthy. So the other thing about this center is that fear is embedded in this center. Okay, fear is embedded in here. And again, oldest center in design. And our ancestors were on a survive plane, right? They had to survive. If they didn't go be hunter-gatherers, they weren't going to eat and their body wasn't going to survive. So it was all about survival. But here's what's really interesting, okay? So here's the fears. I'm not going to go into this, in depth. It's just a quick synopsis for you. And don't let the not-self mind create all kinds of stories about these fears because for the most part, they're probably going to be incorrect. But there's a difference between body fear and the mental, not-self, chaotic fear. Okay? So again, the spleen is full of fear. And fear is healthy for us. Okay? Fear is healthy. Until that not-self grabs on and distorts the fear. And we see this all the time. So again, the survival of our ancestors relied on this innate awareness that is embedded in our cellular structure. However, in today's world, what has happened is that we have taken stress, and really that's all created through the not-self and all created through this illusion of handing our authority over to people on the outside of us, okay? Which has created a shit ton of stress because we're fearful of money, we're fearful of, we're fearful. And money is mostly at the core of it all because we believe in that not self mind because this outside world has created this, that if we don't have money, we're never going to survive. So this stress factor has dropped into our not self mind and has created stories around all of this fear, okay? And then what it's done is stressed out the body, and the stress of the body has assisted with the fear staying up inside the not self, okay? And the function of the spleen is to keep us healthy. Well, imagine what's going on in our bodies because the spleen is being bombarded by bullshit stories from people outside of us. And then the not-self believes it and distorts these fears and operates the life based off of this not-self decision-making from these fears. So I hope I didn't totally confuse you there, but there's healthy fear and unhealthy fear. Healthy fear, we definitely can touch on in a coaching session or, walk through that so you understand it a little better. Unhealthy fear is all the bullshit that's happening up here and all of the stuff that that was, here, money, pharmaceuticals, government laws, all of this stuff that has been dropped into our illusion and told that if we have to give the authority over to all of that. And what human design is saying is, no, we don't. And what we need to do is drop inside of ourselves and let that inner authority rule the life. So how do you see these fears in your chart and then turn it around? Very simplistically, strategy and authority, strategy and authority, strategy and authority. Okay? Because the not self is going to create a story around every single one of these fears, and it can become paralyzing. We see these disorders all over the place. And it is from a really, really distorted illusion. And again, I am not discounting mental wellness or mental illness, whatever you want to call it. I am just simplistically saying that all of that is a created fear from the outside world. Your inside, it knows how to keep you safe. So what the spleen really does for us, say we're out hiking and all of a sudden you get little tingles maybe on the back of your neck or your hair on your arms rise up. That's the spleen. Whether it's defined or not in your chart, that's the spleen going, there's a cougar in the trees. You need to become aware of this and get this physical body to a place of safety. But what's happened is we start taking that fear on and running that fear chemistry, that cortisol, that fight or flight, and we run that through our body 24/7. So we can't sleep because we're scared. We don't leave our houses because we're scared. We don't step into our true power because we're scared. All this bullshit. And the spleen is saying, no. I'll keep you safe. Just trust me. Just trust me. And again, whether it's defined or not in your chart, if it's undefined, you're still gaining the wisdom out of this. So the one story that Ra talks about is when he lived on the island of Ibiza. He lived out of town, so he lived in a rural area, and on the rural roads, he never ever wore his seatbelt just because there wasn't much traffic. And as a splenic manifester, he felt safe. And then one day he says he jumped in the car to go pick up his kid from school, and he watched how his arm reached up and buckled up his safety belt. And he said he just gets up to the highway where he normally would have put it on, and he stopped at the stop sign, and somebody comes up behind him and rams into his vehicle. And he said that was such a teaching moment, because the not-self mind could have said, oh, come on, we don't put on our seatbelt here. What are you doing? Why are you doing that? Blah, blah, blah. And could have convinced his spleen to just stop. Made enough noise for it to stop. But his actual physical body was moving, and he just watched it. That's what human design is. Watch it. You're here to watch your physical body. And trust in your inner authority. No matter what it is. Spleen, sacral, solar plex, ego, self, mental. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That last piece when I said mental, you'll see as we walk along. It's called a mental projector. It's not mental authority, it's actually environmental authority. But anyways, so I just wanted to kind of clear that up. But trust your inner authority. You know, and if it's going to walk you into a place where your physical body is ready to shed and you're ready to move into pure positive energy, trust that too. You're in a rented vehicle. You're in a rented meat suit. None of us are getting out of this alive. So have fun, enjoy, and just begin to pay attention to those fears. Most of them are bullshit. So if any of this intrigues you and you would like to delve into your design, or you want to really step in and see the nuances and really step into your experiment. This is not a reading, this is a process. This is a process to get you to a place where all that outside stuff is no longer controlling you. Okay, thank you very much. Enjoy. Have a great day.